I'm Jonathan Edwards Opera. I work at the U.S. National Ice Center. For those of you that don't know, we are a tri-agency organization made up of the U.S. Navy, U.S. Coast Guard, and then the agency I'm a part of, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, or NOAA. Our goal as an agency is to provide global to tactical scale ice and snow products, ice forecasting and related environmental intelligence projects and services for the United States government. So we have a global area of coverage, but I'm going to focus in on my primary area of responsibility, which is the Great Lakes. In particular, the way that the Ice Center and in conjunction with our partners at the Canadian Ice Service provide Great Lakes ice analysis and support to mariners. So just a little bit of background first. I don't think a lot of people have a great understanding of how much commerce goes through the Great Lakes, and that ideally would go year round, but there's this huge environmental hazard of ice, as you can see in this image here. So this image is from the MODIS satellite in February 2014. This was close to record ice coverage over the Great Lakes. And to give you an idea, there's approximately, depending on the year and what resources are available, 10 ice-breaking units between the US and Canadian Coast Guards that are available to help facilitate commerce and transit across the lakes. So during this year, shipping came to a virtual standstill because, as you can see, there's just so much ice. And as soon as you break a channel in the ice, you're almost refreezing right away. There's a lot of situations where even with the icebreaker, it's just not feasible to get ships through. So this cost the economy more than $700 million and about 4,000 jobs. And the total amount of freight carried during the early parts of 2014 was about 7 million tons less than normal, which caused coal shortages, shutting down some power plants, curtailing production at steel refineries. So it's very important to get environmental intelligence information to the Coast Guard so that they can determine how to distribute their assets. So here's an example of a briefing slide that we provide to the Coast Guard. This was from a few years later. This was in early 2019. It was another above average season. So what you're seeing in the colors here is just concentration of ice. So the redder colors, the warmer colors indicate a higher concentration, and then the cooler colors, the greens, the lower concentrations, with the blue being ice-free. So there are two main sort of operational theaters that the Coast Guard has. They have a northern operation, Operation Taconite, run out of the sector in Sault Ste. Marie, and then Coal Shovel, which is run out of sector Detroit, which covers the southern half of the lakes. And their main objective, obviously, is facilitation of navigation, icebreaking, especially in the waterways that connect all of the major lakes together. So the straits in between Michigan and Huron, for example, the St. Mary's River. In addition, they do search and rescue, vessel response, medical assistance. They do icebreaking to alleviate flooding. If there's ice jams in some of these narrower connecting waterways that are causing flooding. But again, they need this kind of intelligence information so that they know where to put their assets, where they're able to facilitate the continual transport of goods. So on the top left picture here, you see one of the Coast Guard cutters, and on the bottom left, you see their sort of convoy of ships that they'll take behind them after cutting the channel. So a little background into how we do this. So since the U.S. National Ice Center has this global area of responsibility, we have a lot of international partnerships. So the one of relevance to the Great Lakes is the North American Ice Service. So it's comprised of three groups, USNIC, the Canadian Ice Service, and the International Ice Patrol. So the two relevant organizations in this for the Great Lakes are the U.S. Ice Center and the Canadian Ice Service. We share a joint responsibility for analyzing ice cover daily over the Great Lakes. So the way we do this is 3 days a week, the USNIC takes primary responsibility for creating this analysis of ice, and then 4 days a week, CIS takes that over. And then we just switch that responsibility back and forth. And then if there's a problem at either center, if there was ever an issue, some major IT hiccup, we could also situationally back up the other. So there's always a backup on those products and services will get out to the US and Canadian Coast Guards every day throughout the winter. So the software that we use at the ICE Center is called the Satellite Image Processing and Analysis System, or SIPAS for short. So before I ever started working at the NIC had contracted with ESRI to create SIPAS within ArcMap. And now for well over 10 years, this has been our primary software for analysis of ice worldwide. So like I said, I'm talking about the Great Lakes here, but keep in mind that all of this really applies to the Arctic, it applies to the Antarctic, it applies to the Chesapeake and Delaware Bays. We have a global area of responsibility. So if you want to think about how SIPAS is used, you can think about it conceptually as three different components. There's an ingest system. So this can schedule regular processing of data sources. So we utilize, weather model data, oceanographic model data, and then our primary data source is satellite imagery. So there's multiple operational satellites that have data ingested into SIPAS, processed, georeferenced, get it into a format where we can use it. We as analysts can use it to analyze the ice cover itself. You then have the analysis system, which is what I'm primarily working in day to day. So there are a series of databases throughout the Arctic, the Antarctic, and North America. So focusing in on Great Lakes, it's split into two regions. This means the two analysts can work on looking at imagery and model data to determine the ice cover at once. So one person can take the eastern half of the lakes, one person can take the western half of the lakes. We then have a data importer, so we can take all of that data that's gone through the ingest system. We can search over certain geographic areas or by certain remote sensors, so certain particular satellite platforms. And we can pull that into the analysis system. And we also have add-ins that on our sort of off days, if you will, allow us to import the analysis that the Canadian Ice Service has created, because we have some certain NOAA-centric and US-centric partners that we still provide products for, even if we're not the primary analyst on a given day. Then we have the dissemination system. So there's add-ins to allow the production of various products. I'll show you some examples and go over this in a little more detail later, but there's graphics, various gridded products, various GIS products, and depending on what customer of ice information over the Great Lakes that we're talking about, the different customers will want different formats or they'll want different variables. So here is an example of what the system looks like within ArcMap. So sort of in the background part of this image, you see just the database itself that we're pulling imagery into and creating the analysis. So drawing around the imagery to delineate differences in ice concentration, thickness, et cetera. So this imagery indexer is how we can search for various sources. So right now I have about I'm searching for a week's worth of data over North America, and you can see I'm searching for one particular sensor, which is the VIIRS satellite. And you can see that when I select certain images in that database on the right, then it'll show me where those lie, and then I can determine if that's something I want to pull in and look at or not. And so here's just an example of the imagery. So I pulled it in, and then I just zoomed in to look at various features. So this is all from last year. So on the left here, we have imagery from GOES 16 over northern Lake Superior. On the right, we have a satellite-borne radar platform, RadarSat 2. This is over Green Bay. So this is the kind of imagery I'm looking at in SIPAS when I do the analysis of ice. So there's a lot of questions I have to answer. I have to determine lake ice concentration over various regions, the thickness. There's other ice characteristics, like is it shore-fast ice? What is the representative size of the individual flows within an area of ice? So I'm trying to block this off into multiple polygons that I can then describe the ice characteristics in each. So just looking at the Green Bay image, for example, there would be multiple. There would probably be something like maybe up to 10 polygons just covering Green Bay, all describing how the ice varies over different parts of the bay. So once I've done this whole analysis over the entirety of the lakes, there needs to be a way to create various products. So standard charts that both we and the Canadian Ice Service will publish every day, various tailored products for different customers. And this sounds like a really time-consuming task, but because we're using this ESRI software, SciPass, all of this is essentially automated. I can just pull out different tools depending on the day and what requirements our customers have on that given day. And I can produce a vast array of graphics, briefing slides, KMZs, shapefile, various different text files, all within maybe 30 minutes, even on a really busy day. So this automation allows me to spend all my time as an analyst on analyzing the actual ice conditions, which creates a better analysis for our customers of more detail and a high degree of accuracy every day. So what this sort of looks like from my perspective is on the top left here, you're seeing ArcMap. Yep. So at the top left, you're seeing ArcMap. You're seeing the imagery I've pulled in, and then sort of around that, you can see the arrows. These are all the products that are generated by SciPass. So on the bottom is a KMZ. If you move towards the right, there's a text product that can be used by modelers. Briefing slide on the bottom right. Top right, a standard chart that's produced daily by either the USNIC or CIS. So just to get into a little more detail about our various partners. So we have a lot of customers and partners that want this data in various formats, and they don't necessarily want every variable that I can analyze. So we have people interested in climatology. They're interested in consistent gridded products that have been produced for many years and can be produced in the same format. These are people like the Great Lakes Environmental Research Laboratory, the National Snow and Ice Data Center, people who are archiving data long-term to get statistics. There's model input, again, for NOAA. Again, they like gridded products in various formats, whatever's easiest to ingest into their model. Then we have operational support for briefings for the Coast Guard, situational analysis, graphics for forecasters at the Weather Service and elsewhere, and then our standard products that we would have to send to the Canadian Ice Service. So just sort of in summary, the benefit of using this ESRI software is it allows the user, in this case me, to create a detailed analysis and not spend all my time processing imagery, trying to get it in the right format, or trying to produce by hand various different products. All of this is streamlined and mostly automated. Some future work that will be happening, we're continually adding new data sources, both model and imagery, and this system is also going to be migrated to ArcGIS Pro, so it's currently still in ArcMap. That's in development.